Welcome to Educate, Inform Challenge. My name is Teresa MacLennan. I'm Executive Director of the Women and Children Shelter of Barrie. We are so glad that you have joined us for our program today. As you know, the focus of our program, we talk about the lives and experiences of women. We talk about gender equity. We talk about women in leadership. We also love to hear the voices of men who are making significant impacts in their community, charitable giving, men and women who give back to their communities to create wellness in communities for all of us. And so really quite a wide berth in terms of the things that we talk about. So again, very happy that our community has joined us for these conversations today. And of course, we always aim to provide education and how can we challenge our thinking right after we are informed. Before we begin having a great conversation with my guest today, we do want to acknowledge our Indigenous partners and community. We thank you so much for allowing us to share in this space on these traditional territories of so many Indigenous groups. We are honored that we are partners with you, that we can learn and grow and become allies. And thank you for allowing us to have these conversations in this space. So without further delay, I am so happy to introduce my guest today, Mayor Don McIsaac from the city of Orillia. Welcome, Mayor Don.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you and your thousands of viewers.
Oh, thank you so much. And we're happy to have you. So let's just jump right in. I know that it's a big responsibility that any mayor carries of a city. And Orillia, I mean, I've lived in Barrie my whole life. I know the city of Orillia just continues to grow and prosper and see population growth, all those things that so many cities are experiencing.
Right.
Huge responsibility for you as the mayor. Could you give us a rundown just to educate us about kind of those multiple responsibilities that you carry as the mayor of Orillia?
Sure, happy to. It's interesting. Both my parents were mayors when I was growing up. My father in 1969 was the first mayor of the city of Orillia, and my mother from 82 to 85. So sort of the family business, and you know a little bit about it. But I had different views of both. Like when my father was mayor, I thought, oh, they're making bylaws and they're doing the right thing and they're doing all this stuff. When my mother's mayor, you see the rest of it. It's the meetings with the residents, with local businesses, serving on boards and committees, helping with homeless encampments, with gender equity, women in leadership, all of those things, bringing forward reports to council. The mayor has very few powers. I mean, it's kind of like being captain of a 16-foot ship in some way, because I can appoint people to a committee. I only vote if there's a tie because I only have one vote. So there's no point in voting if it's 6-2, it's over. I am the head of council, so I chair that. And I ensure that council meetings operate smoothly and follow the city's procedure and policy and the municipal code. And then I am the voice of the city when people are looking for comments.
Are there requirements for you? I'm just really curious, as the mayor, to sit on certain boards. Like, is there a requirement for you to be involved in, let's say, OPP boards or things like that?
No, I am on the boards I'm on include the Orillia Police Services Commission, which is the OPP. I'm on the hospital board. I'm on the library board, and I'm on the county as well. But there's no requirement you be involved in certain ones. There are certain ones I choose to be on and want to be on to make a difference. But you can choose which ones you pick.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful clarity, right? Because I mean, it's almost like you need to have your finger into all of those things to know what's going on there and to the intersection about what's happening overall in the city, but with those key partners like police and hospital, those things. So I appreciate that clarity for sure. And it is such a huge responsibility. And as you see the community change and the needs and the things that are happening in the community, is there a sense that fixing those things or how you're going to address those things falls on the responsibility of you as the mayor?
It does. I mean, the problems Orillia is dealing with are similar to the problems Barrie and other towns throughout Ontario and indeed throughout Canada are dealing with. It's the homeless populations with encampments. It's people who don't feel safe in their homes. It's people who, have food insecurity. It's dealing with the opioid crisis. Those are things that we have to deal with. I'm a very much do it with what you got person. Like when my mother would make a meal, she made it with what she had. So I try and do the same thing. Like, what do we have that we can use right now? I mean, we can talk about how to deal with homelessness and how to put all these programs in place, and it could take 5 or 10 years, but we have 150 to 200 people in Orillia right now who don't have a place to put their head on a bed. And we need to fix that now. We can't wait.
Yeah. So let's unpack that because, I mean, you are right. I mean, we're located in the city of Barrie, and I believe that we're only seeing an increase in the amount of folks who are unhoused. So many folks who are traumatized, who, need to find a coping mechanism, who use substances, like just such a wide variety, right? Mm-hmm. How have you seen that change in the city of Orillia over the years then?
Well, it's interesting. When I was a kid, I'd go to my grandmother's house, and if I left my bike on her front lawn for a couple of days, it would still be there when I got back. You can't do that anymore. She would have people knock on her door who would offer to do work for cutting the grass or trimming a hedge or something for a sandwich. Not anymore. It's a different type of thing. I mean, we have more people. There's more people who are addicted to substances, opioids, and those are serious problems. I mean, in Orillia, we don't have, if you raise your hand and say, I'm an addict, I need some help, there's no place for you to go in Orillia. And that's a bad comment. We need to fix that. We need to do a better job at taking care of our people.
And so what has the approach been up to now for addressing the issue? Is it people being sent to hospital, like just for your perspective, people being sent to hospital, charges being laid? Like how do you feel that has been addressed in the past?
Well, what we've done since we've got here is we have an affordable housing reserve. We're putting $100,000 aside. We doubled that to $200,000. Excuse me, I'm not sure if 200,000 is enough, but that's what we've done. We've hired a housing coordinator, a full-time position to look at helping people get housing. I mean, that's a huge issue when we're knocking on the doors in Orillia. People are telling you, what are the issues? Well, can't find a doctor, can't find a house, opioid crisis. Those sorts of things popped up again and again. We've sought out opportunities for affordable housing. Council directed staff to form partnerships with affordable housing. The transit terminal we're looking at 66 Peter Street. We're trying to figure out how we can put affordable housing into that. We're looking at our official plan, which we're in the process of changing. And we're trying to figure out how to make developers provide affordable housing. Now, we can say, hey, you have to provide 5% of your build as affordable housing, but then they just add 5% of the price to the people who are paying for it. And that's not what we want. We'd rather cooperate with them and say, we'll give you a break on development costs, and we'll give you a break on this or help with that if you provide the house that, at an affordable rate at 80% of the market rate. So there are ways to do it. We just need to figure out how and partner with those who can help.
Yeah. So you've talked about a couple of things, but I'm curious what you think. I mean, it's going to be a long list. What the roadblocks and the challenges to trying to make some of those things happen are going to be. You must be hitting some challenges.
Absolutely. There are monumental problems. I mean, and you beat an elephant one bite at a time, so you have to break it down. I mean, again, I get back to what have we got that we can use right now? We provide warming centers in Orillia. Warming centers open when it's minus 15 degrees. I asked the question, how come minus 15 degrees? Well, minus 15 is when flesh freezes. Well, we can do better than that. How about minus 5? How about from December 1st to March 31st, have a warming center that's just open all the time. People can come, they can charge their phone, they can have a safe place to stay. They can sleep over, there's a mattress, they can sleep overnight, they can get a cup of coffee, they can access resources to talk to a nurse or get the stuff they need. But it's difficult because someone will say, well, if you have it every day, it's not a warming center, it's a shelter. You're operating a shelter. Well, I don't care what you call it. I mean, it's like we're helping people. It doesn't matter whether it's a shelter or warming center. Money's always an issue. So, we have arrangements with really community church to they're gracious enough to provide space and mats. But it's not enough. They can handle 20 or 30. We'll have more people than that this winter, so we need a second space. Lighthouse has been gracious enough. We have a contract with them, and they provide people who are skilled in de-escalation and skills needed to deal with people who will be in an overnight shelter. So that's helpful, but we need more. So we're doing what we can, but unfortunately, whatever we're doing is just not enough. It's not enough.
And what are your thoughts about how you identify or get to the core root issues that have led so many cities to these problems, right? Like, how are we getting to the core of actual help and identifying why we are in this spot?
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing I learned a long time ago was to ask people who are afflicted by the problem how we can help. I can sit here with you and we can figure out how to handle the opioid crisis or how to handle homeless encampments, but I don't live in a homeless encampment, and I don't believe you do either. So that solution would be our solution, not their solution. So we need to incorporate, and we need to make sure we don't say homeless people. We say people who are homeless. They're people first, and treat them with dignity. Do the right thing here. We've just got to do better, and we need to engage. There are people in the community who think that we shouldn't spend a nickel on homeless people because they worked all their life and they have a home, and how come these people, it's their fault they don't have a home? Well, not everyone's the architect of their own misfortune. Sometimes things just don't work out. They're in an unsafe situation. They have all sorts of things going on that cause them to be homeless, and that's a problem, and we need to identify that and deal with it.
Yeah. So we're going to be taking a commercial in a couple of minutes, and I want to talk to you more about that, identifying and changing attitudes and, more understanding in the community. But I'm curious, when you talk about, it's such a great point about how you hear from the voices of people who have that lived experience, right? Mm-hmm. How do you engage those folks to tell you what they need or to have a voice in that? That's hard to do.
Me personally, I walk the streets, I walk the homeless camps and talk to people. I mean, people will tell you what they need. Like, I can think of, hey, you need this, you need that. They want a safe place. They want a place that's dry. They want a place where they're not going to get hassled. I tell them, I will turn my eye the other way. We're not going to remove you off an encampment if you're keeping the trash clean, if you're not playing music late at night or doing silly stuff to cause the neighbors to complain. If neighbors don't complain, I'm good. We don't, go ahead, enjoy. But just talking to people directly, I find is the best.
I have to tell you, it's very refreshing to talk to you, and your perspective on things and your approach is really nice to hear, because there have been historically other approaches to it, more of a criminal nature, like we've needed to go the route of having charges and just bringing people into the police and whatever, because there wasn't any other approaches or thoughts to how are we going to do this. But anyway, there's a lot for us to talk about. Okay. So I just encourage our community, please stay with us, and we are going to be right back, and we're going to continue this great conversation with Mayor Don McIsaac from the city of Orillia. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Paradise! Thursdays on City TV.
I'm feeling anxious, a little nervous.
Tanner's so hot.
He's cute.
He is really cute.
It's hot. Everyone's coupled up. Damn.
I'm not trying to betray you.
She took a big-ass samurai sword and just drove it through my heart.
That is some immature seriously.
I mean, that's paradise, Bachelor in Paradise. All new. Thursdays, 9, 8 Central on City TV. Or stream it on City TV Plus.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
Welcome back to Educate, Inform, and Challenge. We're having a great discussion with the mayor of Orillia, Don McIsaac, and we're having a really good conversation about the approach that the mayor has, and hopefully, is able to get other folks on board about how to approach creating safe communities for everyone. So how you approach folks who are experiencing homelessness and the opioid crisis that we're experiencing. So Don, thank you so much for being with us. And we're just going to dive right back in. And I want to circle back to something that you were talking about before the commercial about encampments. So of course, here in the city of Barrie, all cities, I think, with a significant population are experiencing encampments that can pop up in certain areas, right? What do you think is the best approach to supporting, dealing, finding a way to work with, or how would that look? Like, what do you think is the best approach when encampments are popping up?
Well, for me, treat people with dignity. I mean, they're people who are homeless, and they're not homeless people. So get that straight. Being homeless isn't a crime. It's not a criminal thing. Like being a drug addict isn't a crime. I mean, that's who people are. And if you realize that and ask them how you can help, what is it that they need? Do they need a place to charge their phone? Do they need a warm pair of socks? Do they need a place to have a shower? Do they need a place where they feel safe? What is it they need? And then try and solve for that. And a lot of the stuff that is in the ask is stuff that we have right now. We're not building 500 bedroom hotels for people. I mean, these are things we have right now. We're trying to solve for the encampment issue, and that's a little bit of a puzzle because there's so many elements to it. Do you put portable houses there? Do you staff it? What are the rules? What are the bylaws? How do you set it up? Is it sustainable? There's so many questions, but that's why you ask staff, and they're looking diligently, and we'll get answers, and then we'll have a plan of action.
You were talking about the importance of hearing from people who are actually creating that kind of community for themselves, like through an encampment, folks who are unhoused right now, how challenging, or like what are some of the roadblocks that you also have to work through in terms of the whole community and how folks may feel about encampments or seeing a homeless person who's on their street, whatever that may look like in the downtown core, outside my business. Like I can imagine the balance that you have to try and find to incorporate the wants and the needs of everybody in the community. So how do you approach that?
Well, people have a right to be where they are. I mean, if you're drunk and disorderly in public, that's not a good thing, and there are remedies for that. But just because someone is homeless in front of your business, I mean, they have a right to be there. We have to look at how to help those who don't have a home or don't have a place to stay and get them the things they need. We've worked with the OPP. They've been great. We've asked them to help increase patrols on the main street just to help people. When they see someone asking for change, they ask them, what do they need it for? Do they need food? Well, the food bank's over here, so we've got a resource here for you. Do you need it for rent? Well, we can send you over here and we can help you with that. You try and find what the needs are and then try and resolve them as best you can.
Because every city may take a different approach. So I'm going to assume that municipalities are deciding what their own approach in their own city is going to be. And there really isn't consistency in terms of the approach amongst all mayors, let's say.
No, there isn't. We visited Kitchener. Kitchener has a small community, and it's got 50 small houses. They're 40-foot shipping containers. They cut them into 3, so they make 3 out of each container. They have a bed, they have an air conditioner and a heater, they have a light. Then they have a central area where they have a washer, dryer, meeting rooms, fridge, stove, kitchen, showers, laundromat, that sort of thing. So that's a community. They told us when we visited they have 5 people full-time plus a security guard. So that's 6 people per shift, and that goes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They look at it as a temporary solution. They hope that people will come and transition and then move on. But those units cost $50,000 each. So 50 of them is 2.5 million. And that's just gets units. That doesn't get the infrastructure to plug them in, to get the wiring, to get the heat. That doesn't include the central area where they've got fridge, stove, washer, dryer, showers, cooking facilities, that sort of thing. It doesn't include the operating costs. So we need to build the model to see what it looks like. Then we need to try and figure out how to solve for it.
When you think about a model like that has, of course, some initial upfront costs, do you think that long term, like that kind of a model, you would actually see other services that have substantial budgets perhaps decreasing because you put it up at the front in terms of a model like that?
Right. Absolutely. There's a famous article called $1 Million Murray. And $1 Million Murray is a story about an agency that followed somebody named Murray who was down on his luck, and they followed him for a year in terms of the cost to the system. He, EMT, emergency ward, fire, police, whatever costs he had, and it was $1 million. So if you go into the emergency ward and you have a broken leg, they fix your broken leg, they send you home. Why not do like St. Mike's in Toronto do? If you have a broken leg, they fix your broken leg, but they say, well, Teresa, we notice you're homeless. Are you getting the benefits you need? Do you need help with accommodation? Do you need a nurse? Do you need these services? And like Kitchener does, it's not just providing a head on bed and meals. Excuse me, they provide services as well. And unless you provide all of those services, like a nurse, let them have access to whatever other services the county or the province or the city have, you're not going to be successful. So the $1 Million Murray story, I mean, not that if Murray, they found with Murray, he was in jail. When he got out of jail, the judge had ordered him in a court-ordered program. He made money. He had $6,000 when he finished. That was gone in a week when he got out, unfortunately, because he had a heck of a party. But I mean, it works when in certain cases, and I think there's a good lesson for us all there.
It's so hard for people to see what the long-term gain and outcomes could be. The short-term pain, of course, is there in having to invest in that kind of infrastructure, but the long-term gain, people don't realize that there will actually be savings. We certainly experience that with women who are experiencing abuse. When we think about all the systems that they are involved in, police, hospital, court systems, right? Education, time off of work, the financial impacts are huge to the rest of us, the rest of the community. Putting dollars in and investing at the forefront.
It's worth it. I'm an accountant, I'm a CPA, but I don't look at it as we're going to spend $10, we better get 20 back. We're going to spend money. Some of it we're going to get back, some we're not, but the investment is worth it. The county has an excellent 10-point plan for dealing with homelessness that I think works. And there's a lot of good attributes to it. I'm not totally versed on it, but there's a lot of good attributes for it. And to your point about people who are in a difficult situation, sometimes a Sherpa, someone who can guide them through that situation, is quite helpful because it's difficult to deal with. One of the previous communities I was in, they had a wet house for alcoholics where they gave them booze, and people go, "What? Why? They're alcoholics. You don't give booze." Well, guess what, peeps? If you have 100 alcoholics in a room, 98% of them are going to keep drinking. So you might as well face that fact, and then they have less time. They're out foraging to figure out how to get booze. They can concentrate on other stuff. It's a hard lesson.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And because that kind of also aligns with the conversations that are happening in cities about these safe injection sites, right?
Yes, we will look at that as we go forward. We haven't got an application in. I know Barry's had one in for 2 years. It hasn't been approved, which tells you something. Yep. But people they need clean needles. They need a safe place to inject. They need a place to test the stuff. I mean, they're going to use, and I'd rather have them use in the safe place. I don't think, Gwen Boniface, the senator, has got Bill 232 where she's trying to decriminalize drug use. And it's why criminalize someone who's an alcoholic? It's not a crime. Someone who uses drugs, I mean, you may or may not approve of what they do, but why is that a criminal thing? If you steal a purse to get drugs, that's criminal. But just because someone has an addiction, don't criminalize it.
Yeah, it's such a great point, and it's such a great conversation. I was recently part of a training which was about how to approach human trafficking and sex work, and there was several police
Officers.
The head people who make the decision, right? Police departments.
The brass.
And they were really changing their focus on criminalizing buyers and the demand and putting their focuses there, as opposed to the folks who are needing to engage in that because as a way of survival.
Mm-hmm.
And they were seeing a real significant impact in a reduction. And there was also a wraparound of services for the people who were involved in that. Like you were talking about, you go to the hospital, but hey, what's your housing situation look like? And how's your mental health? You know, a wraparound approach. And they were seeing huge success with a different approach to the true source of the issue, right? And you're absolutely right. Here in the city of Barrie, we cannot seem to get a handle on the best approach for safe injection. And again, that balance of not in my community, I don't want it. And
it's the focus. I mean, I was at the police services board the other day, and just in discussion, and I don't know the exact number in Orillia in 2023, but every single, 100% of gun charges against people in Orillia have been dropped. They've been dropped because the courts are too busy. I'm thinking, if I get a ticket for running a red light, I haven't, but if I got one, I have to pay a fine. I'm going to get hooked up. I mean, this is going to be bad. That part works really well. But the stuff that should work well, if someone has a gun, that's a problem. We need to get them into court. How come the Crown's dropping the case? I don't know. Courts crowded? I mean, get more courts.
Don't even get me started about that, because there's so many, for us, our experience. I mean, the court process has never been a great one for the women that we support. And now, so they might make a call to have the abuser removed from the home, and he's out, an hour later.
Catch and release.
And then that is when she is most at risk of being injured. So it's a great conversation. There's just so much that we could talk about.
That's a topic for another show, but we've had the same thing with catch and release. People commit a violent crime and they're out in a couple hours later. I mean, and they commit another crime the next day. It's like, wait, what?
People are so at risk, right? So my gosh, I mean, our time has gone by so fast. We've got about 1.5 minutes left here, Mayor Don. If you could envision what a safe community that accepts all, it supports all looks like, what would that look like?
That's a great question. In June, we adopted the Couchiching Community Safe and Wellbeing Plan. And that plan in part notes that community safety and well-being, it's an ideal state of a sustainable community. And I mean, those are words. What does that mean? But it means everyone's safe. Everyone's got a sense that of belonging, opportunities to participate. Those are important things, and it can't go unnoticed. We need to give people that opportunity and protect it.
I just have to thank you, and I'm so appreciative of our conversation today. And for our community, you can let the mayor know through different ways about what your thoughts are, but please think about, really supporting and getting behind his vision for the community, because he carries big responsibilities and he does need your support. And so think about that, and think about the incredible responsibility that he carries as the mayor. And we thank all of you for being with us here today. It's been a great conversation, and we'll hope to see you all again here next time on Educate, Inform, and Challenge.